not started yet.
So she said we can call George from here, but if there's other calls that come in, I don't know how we're gonna do it.
I can put them on speaker, I think.
Okay, we'll figure it out from here, thank you. Okay. No, that's okay. Yeah, no problem, I'll just keep trying it until, and just in case we get calls that come in, so.
We'll talk for a couple of hours until we get them.
Yeah. No, it just goes, flat. Yeah, there's nothing. I'll just keep trying, but we'll call George from the computer here.
Hello?
Hi, George, can you hear us?
I just barely. Yeah, and there's no volume on the television.
That's because we're waiting for you. You're a special person. So we're just about to get started.
Oh, okay, good.
All right, thanks for your patience.
All right. Thank you. Good evening and welcome to the Veterans Disability and Human Services Commission meeting for September 9th, 2020. I am Carissa Perry, the chair of the commission. Ms. Perry, can you do a roll call, please?
Commissioner Brown? Commissioner Chandler?
Here.
Commissioner Cooper?
Here.
Commissioner Daigle?
Here.
Commissioner Hansel?
Here.
Commissioner Herzog? Commissioner Kent Partridge?
Here.
Commissioner Moore?
Present.
Chair Perry?
Here.
Commissioner Vanda Langright?
Here?
Vice Chair Witzel?
Here.
We have a quorum.
For the record, we
Ms.
need
Perry,
to
to
note.
note that Commissioner Brown is excused today.
Correct.
So noted.
Thank you. All right. Will everyone please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? Please rise as you are able.
I got it.
I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Who's on the chair?
All right, and for our current events, what I have currently is on September 24th, from 2 to 4 is the Transportation Impact Fee Study for new development in the city. For more information, please go to surpriseaz.gov to participate. It will be through WebEx, so it'll be all virtually done. Also, on September 12th, we have our free waste drop-off for the Surprise residents at the Northwest Regional Landfill. Again, that's free for non-hazardous waste. And which another exciting thing that I think is exciting is coming up. We actually have something coming up that we can participate in. We have the Surprise Day of Service, which is set for October 10th For more information, I encourage you to reach out to Larry Garcia at 623-222-1522, and he'll be glad to get you set up with that. And as a reminder for everyone that the Surprise Resource Center has some great services out there for anything that you might need, be it rental or utility assistance, or if you need help finding employment. You can reach them at 623-222-1600. And that is all I have. Commissioner Chandler, do you have anything to report?
I don't.
Thank you. Commissioner Cooper, as this is your second one, would you like to tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. So my name is Jason Cooper. My wife, Alicia, and I have been in the Surprise area for about 4.5 years. We have 2 kids that are still at home, both in high school out at Shadow Ridge. Spent 20 years active duty in the Air Force. I retired here in Surprise. And just looking forward to working with all of you for the next couple of years on issues that are of interest to the citizens in the city of Surprise. So thanks for having me.
All right. Well, thank you for your willingness to help serve on our commission. We do appreciate that, and for your service as well. Commissioner Daigle.
I have nothing to report.
All right. Commissioner Hansel.
Nothing to report, Chair. Thank you.
All right. Commissioner Kim Partridge.
Yep, I have an announcement and then a request. So this Saturday, the 12th, the 3000 Club in the Market and the Move is offering free vision screenings to anyone who needs it from 5 a.m. to 9 a.m. And the address for that is 1741 West Rose Garden Lane, and zip code is 85027. Thought that was cool because it offers it to anybody instead of just children. The next thing that I would like to request is maybe is that we have SARC, the Southwest Autism Research and Resource Center, present to our commission. I feel like they do also have some resources and services that they can offer to our residents and community as well.
All right. Thank you, Commissioner Kim Partridge. All right, Commissioner Moore.
Nothing to report.
All right. Commissioner Vandalingua, do you have anything?
No, I do not. Thank you.
All right. Commissioner Wetzel.
Nothing at this time, Chair.
All right, thank you. All right, so at this time, we will go ahead and move for our call to the public. Ms. Perry, do we have any?
No one has called in for the call to the public, but I believe Seth has a staff report.
Oh, that's right. I'm sorry, Steph. Sorry, Director Dyson, that was my mistake.
That's okay, Commissioner Perry and members of the commission. You've heard me speak before, and so it's okay to excuse me out of here. But thank you for your time tonight. We have a couple updates for you. This meeting, we were supposed to have our first hour kickoff of our strategic planning session. Our consultant had a death in the family, so she regrets she wouldn't be able to make it tonight. So in consulting with the chair and vice chair, we decided to push that to next meeting. So the next meeting, in addition to a couple of our regular items, we will start our hour-long strategic planning process. Again, level set there, and then meet probably a couple times after that. So more information to come on that. This commission asked for some trends on maybe what we're seeing out there in terms of services being delivered, services needed, and I was able to gather some info. So I think next meeting we can bring you additional information, but we do have some economic development updates from our city. We have some employment updates that I'm going to ask Vice Chair Witzel to share from what he's seen from his work at Arizona at Work, Maricopa County. And I do have some domestic violence trends that I'll go over. So I'll start with our resource center, and then I'll turn it over to you, Vice Chair, if that's okay for the employment piece. But as many of you know, no one knew what the duration of this pandemic was going to be, right? So at first we thought, well, maybe a month, 2, 3, 4. Well, we're still going, as you all know, too well. And so our resource center, we've made a decision not to ever close it. So we reduced hours, but now we're back to open all hours with a lot of safety precautions in place. And we're grateful for our partners and the community responding to that. But we're seeing some high need out there. And so we have some data to share tonight. So the county, Maricopa County, is our funder for our community action program. community action programs, if anyone's watching and listening, are all over the country. So anywhere in the United States, you can access a CAP office and get help with a variety of things. Primarily in our CAP office, which is our resource center, Surprise Resource Center, we offer utility assistance, rental assistance. We offer workforce development assistance through Vice Chair Witzel and his team. We offer services to connect people to domestic violence, transportation, all across the board, with our goal of trying to stabilize the family as fast as we can if they're coming to us in crisis, and then helping them with a path forward so then they don't have to maybe stay on benefits, or they find a job or a new training opportunity. And so the county received CARES funding as well, and they heard us loud and clear that we need rental money. Rent is typically the most requested service out here. So rent, utilities, transportation, all of those are always battling for the number one requested service. And we finally have rental assistance. We don't normally have a lot of it. The county came through with a lot of it, as you heard last week or last meeting. So we have $2.7 million that we received to serve both the cities of Surprise and El Mirage. That's our agreement with Maricopa County to serve this area. They help us fund our staff to do that. And so I'm very proud of our staff. We ramped up very quickly. We hired eight new additional temporary staff, some part-time, some full-time, just to process all those applications, if you can imagine. So if anyone is in need of rent or utilities, come to our resource center. We're actually taking walk-ins. So normally you have to call, and hopefully you can leave a message and get a call back because the volume's typically high. Now that we have the capacity to serve people, now is the time to call for folks to get help. So just since July, our team at the Resource Center has served over, 249 households. Individual persons served was 816, and that's only through the CAP office or the CAP program, not through some of Andrew's programs. And we've spent over $654,000 since July 1st in rental and utility assistance. That's how much of an opportunity and also a demand that's out there. So we'll continue to monitor it. But the good thing is we've been able to pivot some of our programs and services to make it more accessible for people now than we've ever been. So normally, again, we have a call line that some of our residents and in El Mirage too have found frustrating because they can't get through. That's because we have so much call volume. We just to protect our staff for all the thousands of calls we'll get, and Commissioner Chandler probably knows this since she set up a call center for her operations. Now we can take walk-ins. Now we have capacity to set more appointments. There's still a lot of COVID precautions we're taking in place. So there's a lot of drop-off applications and things like that. So you're not going to have a half-hour-long counseling appointment or navigation services appointment. But we're seeing quite a bit of folks come through. And I'm proud of our team because they really just had to ramp up in the last 3 weeks. So we didn't have a lot of that money out the door until the last 3 weeks. So Andrew probably can mention how busy the office is now getting. So in terms of employment, I'll turn it over to Vice Chair Witzel to share a little bit about what he's seeing from his desk, and then I'll follow that up with a brief economic development report from our economic development team here at the city.
Thanks, Seth. So I know everybody's kind of seen some of these businesses that are shutting down. As you drive by, you see Pier 1, you see Steinmart that are going out of business. But you'll also see there are new businesses coming in. There's ground being broken all over the city. So there are still a lot of places that are hiring, but we're seeing a shift in those markets away from some of the retail to some of the other options, which I'm sure Seth is going to get to with the economic development. The other thing that we're seeing is that the state of Arizona is the additional funds that unemployment recipients were receiving is set to end, I believe, next week. So we're starting to see an increase in call volume for people looking for workforce development services to our office and to all the Maricopa County offices around the valley. What Maricopa County has done to kind of alleviate that is set up some ways for job seekers to apply for services virtually, so they can avoid coming into our offices until it's necessary to meet with somebody in person. And we've also developed some online virtual workshops that are now going to be available, so people don't have to come and sit in a classroom if they're worried about exposure. Those are just getting ready to roll out in the next week or so. So if anybody has questions about that, they can call me at my office at 623-222-1630. But we are seeing an increase in those job seekers. They're looking for services. So if it's something you need assistance with, I suggest getting a hold of somebody, calling my office or calling one of the career centers as soon as possible, because the floodgate's about to open and there's going to be a lot of people seeking those services.
Thank you, Vice Chair Witzel. Good information. And so for anyone seeking that employment, please contact us at the Resource Center and the team. And there's some mixed and so some negative, but a lot of very positive news coming from the business side. So as you may know, some of our small businesses really struggled, were really hit by the pandemic and continue to be. And so our economic development team did a great job of kind of pivoting and trying to check in with all of our companies. So they reached out to 1,700 businesses regularly. That's a lot of phone calls. That's a lot of emails just to check in on how are they doing. You saw some of the virtual ribbon cutting campaigns for some of the groups that had to close their business and then reopen. Just one extra thing to set our city economic development department apart from others. Really, really fun to see initiatives like that succeed. They created a long list of business help resources on our website. So if anyone here watching or knows of a business that needs help, go to our website. We have a comprehensive list of great resources to help them out. And then just recently, with the city council support, the economic development department put out a small business relief grant that you may have heard about. And so all of that information is on the website. I think it's going to kick off next week for applications to start opening. But we please encourage anyone that you know that's running a small business to apply for that, especially those who were impacted by maybe some of the executive orders. So specific industries that had to close, they were ordered to close. It wasn't their choice; they had to close. And again, it's a hard situation, so it's hard to tell people to open and close. But we have resources, thankfully. But we have some really good news to report too. I think our local economy is very resilient. I think businesses and site selectors are seeing us as a place to still do business. And so 2021 is off to a really good start with a lot of projects in the pipeline, including Amazon's last mile delivery station. They're going to employ over 300 people in the city of Surprise. In our community development division, residential permits for this past year were over 2,000. And then we already have and 518 commercial permits just last year. Some also good news from last fiscal year ending from our city, which we end June 30. So we're kind of right in the middle of the pandemic. We had large end business announcements that say they're coming to Surprise or expanding. So Abrazo Micro Hospital, Costco Wholesale, CK Packaging, Trimaco are some of the bigger side. The smaller side, even though restaurants have been hit really hard, we had openings of the Angry Crab, Bonfire Craft Kitchen, Tap House, Dental Depot, Spencer's Place, Handel's Ice Cream Parlor, Tractor Supply. All of those are new opens from this past year in our city, which is pretty neat. And then downtown, Ottawa has completed some significant projects with their first phase of their student housing. So their dorm is open, and they've got all their students back. Thank goodness they're all thriving and they're all healthy. And then they finished their multi-million rec center right next to their football stadium. So really exciting for downtown. In addition to that, the Texas Rangers opened up their new facility, and the Royals just broke ground on there. So we're in a pandemic. We're in an interesting time in our history, but there is economic movement in our local area, which is very positive. There are still employers that tell us they have a hard time finding talent, and so we probably will have a large amount of people looking for jobs and businesses wanting to fill those. So when in doubt, come to the Resource Center, help get navigated to maybe some of those open jobs. So a relatively positive note, and I'd like to acknowledge Janine Yurkovich, our Economic Development Director, for that great report. Not so positive, and the last thing that we wanted to pull for trends was the impact on domestic violence that we're seeing across not only our city, but all the cities and towns in Arizona and really across the country. So we're able to get some really good information from one of our local shelters in the West Valley, and they're having a tough time. So I'll read you a little bit of what they shared. So they're seeing disturbing trends for domestic violence victims and survivors that have appeared during COVID. For example, in shelter, we have more empty beds than ever before. We have never had a casita, so a kind of a small apartment unit, open for more than 24 hours before, and now it's open for about 2 days. Typically, there's really high turnover in some of these shelters. The experts are thinking that this is due to the close proximity of social distancing that families are seeing, and that outlets that normally are available to families. So I'm going to go to a meeting and maybe get a counseling appointment. They're harder to find, so they're not as able to get out of the house as much. And so they have, through this industry, which I learned through this process, they assess people coming to them with a danger assessment. And so you get ranked because shelters are typically full. They have to rank the most significant or most severe case compared to a least severe case, and they get to take that most severe in housing. They say that typically they see scales of 1 to 18 scores, helping people enter shelter, with scores of typically 14 entering shelter. During COVID, their average score is 27, 30, and 32. So they said this is indicative of the extreme likelihood of lethality and severe danger that these families are in and now entering shelter. So you're not seeing people access services because of fear, because of some of the social distancing constraints. But the ones that do come are in significant danger and are fleeing. So that's I hate to end on that, but that's some of that's a local trend. That's our local West Valley shelter right down the road from us. I appreciate their insight. As you know, domestic violence isn't a new thing. It's very prevalent in our world. And so if anyone is experiencing domestic violence that you know of, we have developed a community resource guide, which we'll talk about probably every meeting that we have of this commission, so bear with me. But there's a lot of resources here for those folks experiencing domestic violence. There's a lot of anonymous tip lines and emergency lines that you can call or text. So when in doubt, you can call our resource center. We can get you connected to some of those support groups. Or if you're in danger, call the police department. We have a phenomenal police department here that is very well connected to all of these service groups. And so if you're in danger, please first call the police. So, and that's it for my report tonight, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Director Dyson. I appreciate that. Again, I'm sorry I skipped over you. That was... All right. And since we have no call to the public, correct, Ms. Perry? Okay. All right. So from this point, we will go ahead and move forward to the discussion pertaining to the Community Development Block Grant Consolidation Annual Performance Evaluation Report for the program year 2019. So we get to welcome Adam Lane. Thank you for coming and visiting with us again.
It's been a while. Thank you, Chair, Commission. Like you mentioned, we're here to talk about the program year 2019 CAPER for the Community Development Block Grant. Today's objectives, we want to review the CDBG CAPER requirements. We want to review the program year 2019 accomplishments and approve the CAPER for submission to HUD. The program year 2019 ran from July 1st, 2019 to June 30th, 2020. The CAPER is a progress report on the current consolidated plan, 5-year consolidated plan. 2019 was the final year of the previous plan, so it ran 2015 to 2019. We're currently in the new consolidated plan, but 2019, the final year of that 5-year plan. The CAPER is a summary of financial and data reports. It reports on total resources available, funds expended. It's a check on our spending caps, and it reports on the LMI benefit for the city. You're also going to get an update of progress on the fair housing analysis of impediments. Again, that would have been for the previous 5 years. We do have a new AI. However, the update would be on the previous AI. We will review any changes made during the program year. We'll analyze any problems that were encountered. We allow for citizen participation and comment during the CAPER process. And the CAPER must be received by HUD 90 days after the end of the program year. The 2019 allocation was $671,119. We did receive just over $9,000 in program income, and we had previous year funding of $835,400. Total funds expended for the year, $1,086,976. Planning and admin, just over $135,000, which came at 19.9%, just under our 20% spending cap. And the funds benefiting LMI persons are 100%. Whoop. That was me. Financial summary. So total activities dispersed out of the just over $1 million dispersed. We see how they're broken up by activity, project activity. We have housing, public facilities and improvements, public services, and general administration and planning. So the bulk of the spending went to public facilities and improvements. So individual projects, housing rehab with a goal of preserving existing housing. We helped 10 homeowners make needed repairs to their homes. Typical rehab, the types of rehabs were mostly roof replacements, HVAC repairs, and plumbing were the most typical types of rehabs. And then the 10 broken up by income level, just about 50-50 between low income and extremely low income. And we expended just over $153,000 for housing rehab. Public facility improvement with a goal to create suitable living environments. We broken up there between the neighborhood facilities, parks and rec facilities, and sidewalks. The bulk of this project went to the Heritage at Surprise infrastructure improvements, so infrastructure related to the Heritage at Surprise housing development. And we made some repairs to the sidewalks at the Surprise Community Park. And then there was some planning and design work for the Gaines Ball Field, which is just getting ready to start construction any day now. Public services, so with the goal of newer continued access to services, 319 LMI persons benefited. Again, you can see the different activities broken up there. A bulk of these persons benefiting were senior or disabled persons. They included services for persons experiencing homelessness, childcare. We had a meal delivery service related to people affected by COVID-19, transportation for seniors and disabled, youth internships, and short-term rent and utility assistance. We spent $129,948 on public services. That's 14.71%, just under our 15% spending cap for public services. Project locations, just showing geographic distribution of the funding and the different projects. The original town site is our only target area, and 79% of the funds were expended in that target area, and then the rest of the projects, most of those being rehab, are spread throughout the city. The CAPER timeline, so August 24th, 2020 to September 9th, there was a 16-day comment period for the public to review and make any comments. Tonight, we're having a public hearing as required by HUD, and we'll have the CAPER approved to be forwarded to HUD by September 28th, 2020. Any questions?
All right, Commissioners, just as a reminder that this, after our discussion, I will then open it up to the public to have any say if they have anything to add. Commissioners, any questions on this? Okay, I will let you know, Mr. Lane, as I was reading over the CAPER, I was excited to see some of the things that were taking place and what we were able to help with. Just in emergency shelter and just homelessness and the things that we were able to help in that area is good, because that's something that we've struggled with. And in the housing aspect, because we also know that was one of those things that we see as a need in the city, affordable housing. I saw in here that there was another one that was going to be, I lost my mark, that was going to be coming, that we were 2021. Do you know which one that was? I lost my little tag. So, but
we've allocated the next 5 years. Our number one goal is developing new rental housing. So
it was the Habitat.
Oh, the Habitat homes. Yeah,
Yes.
Thank you. Yes. So yeah, that was with our neighborhood stabilization program funding, and we are in an agreement with Habitat for Humanity to build 4 single-family homes in the original town site area. They have purchased a lot there, so those homes are scheduled to be under construction in December. Because of where we are, I don't know if we'll get there, but those will be sold to very low-income families, so families that fall below 50% of the AMI, and those are for homeownership units.
What a great opportunity
Yep,
for
absolutely.
those. That was great for me to see that, to read that. All right, before I open this up to the public, does any other commissioners have anything that they would like?
Sure.
Yes, Commissioner.
Good evening. I remember those announcements, the applications for the Habitat homes. So well done, everybody involved. It's 4 homes, if I remember correctly.
Correct. Yep.
Those are going to be a great experience for the new homeowners as well as everybody involved. I encourage anyone who's able to try and spend a few hours involved. You don't have to be a professional contractor. They'll help you out. You can hold drywall, you can hold studs. They'll teach you what you need to know to help work on the buildings. I've had the privilege of helping out with a couple Habitat projects, and it is incredibly rewarding to see the homeowners participating in the construction, as well as the end of the line when they finally get the keys to their home and can start moving in. Did we use all of the allocated funds for 2019, or are there still some that were?
There is funding left. So I could do the math off the top of my head, but we had about 1.5 million at the beginning of the program year available to us, and we spent just over the million. So there is some 2018 money left, a small amount, and then there's about 500,000 in 2019 funds that are allocated to the Gaines Ball Field. The bulk of it is to the Gaines Ball Field.
And for anyone who has any questions about the grant process, who would they contact?
Neighborhood Services.
Thank you.
Yep, you're welcome.
Commissioners, any other comments before I open it up to the public? Oops. All right, then I'll go ahead and open up this hearing to the public. If anyone wishes to address, they may step forward or call. Anyone?
I've had no calls come in, Chair.
All right, thank you, Ms. Berry. All right. All right, I'll go ahead and close the public hearing at this time. All right, so we will move to our next agenda item, which we have. Which will be the consideration and action pertaining to the August 12th, 2020 Veterans Disability and Human Services Commission meeting minutes. At this time, I will go ahead and entertain a motion.
I move to approve the August 12th, 2020 Veteran Disability and Human Services Commission meeting minutes.
I second.
All those in favor, say aye.
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 All right, thank you. All right, so the next item on our agenda, we are lucky to hear from the Sounds of Autism. We have Cricket Barrientos
Thank you.
here. She is an advocate for and a leader of mental health, brings a voice to the 101 to 54 children who are living with autism. In the United States today, autism has become the largest epidemic, and we are in trouble, Cricket says. Okay. Cricket and her team serves at-risk families of autism, community leaders, responders, and educators through early intervention programs, community presentations, which we're thankful that she's here to go ahead and tell us more about it. And thank you for your time in presenting to us tonight.
Thank you. Thank you for having us out tonight. And I know it's kind of an unusual time with COVID, but actually for me, it was a blessing because it gave me, for the first time in my life since I was 15 years old working in the restaurant industry, I got a break. And so I, have this motto, and I think I got it from Shawshank Redemption, where it's get busy living or get busy dying. And I have a son with autism who graduated last year. He's 18, and to transition from an adult from 17 to 18, it's very stressful for a parent because you got to do the right things. You have to decide, are you going to do guardianship? Are you going to do power of attorney? How are you going to be the voice of this adult now? And what's really scary to me is that it's 1 in 54 8-year-olds. So they haven't even looked below 8 to report these statistics, and that's reported by the CDC. So if it's 1 in 54, we are in trouble because it used to be, when I moved to Arizona, 1 in 286 in 2006. So it's grown rapidly, and we're in trouble. So I have been in the restaurant industry. I've been a restaurateur over 30 years. And it's an industry, when I first started, that failed 90% of the time in a year. And now it's at 78% failure, probably even more than that with COVID. So you have to learn quickly how to react quickly. You can't just shut the doors and say, I'm having a bad day, maybe I'll open tomorrow. I mean, you could do that, but what would happen to that business? And I've worked for large corporations. The one that I started with was Ruby Tuesday back in the day. And when I started, it was publicly traded with multiple restaurants, and they went off on their own. And the first day they became public, they actually opened with $35 a share in the 90s. That was a big deal. And we grew from 84 restaurants to 950 national and international. And my job was to train and develop many, many people within that industry. So it was exciting to me because I got to learn so much stuff about economic development and how to go out and lease properties and things like that. So when I had that experience and I took it, and then they gave me a child with autism, I said, you know what, it can't be that difficult, right? But what I learned when I moved to Arizona is it was the largest epidemic in the United States. Nobody talked about it. And when I got off work, everybody was sleeping, except for those that, were living the same life I was. So I decided just to start a Facebook page called Growing with Autism. And I was inspired by veterans and people that lived on Luke Air Force Base. And they said, we have so many families, they're so young, and they're having these kids, and they're one of that 1 in 54 family, but the dad or mom or both deploy out, and these families have no idea how to raise these kids. Can you be their voice? So I started educating and training people, and it just grew to where we are today. My husband is a 12-year plus Phoenix police officer, and I hear all the stories. He works in one of the worst areas. He loves it. He's fifth generation Chicago Irish police officer. So he is excited about going to work every day. And it is exciting, but right now is the worst time to be a police officer. And for him, he said he loves the challenge. But our son, he's home with me, and I'm teaching him life skills right now. And when he watches the news and he watches the things going on, he doesn't understand why we can't just get along. So it excites me. The day that he was going to graduate, a few days before that, I said, Landon, what do you want to do when you grow up? And he said, Mom, Kev, I want to be a farmer. That's a hard job. He wants to be a farmer. He works on a horse ranch right now. He takes care of 35 horses. He said, Mom, I want a wife. I want a beautiful wife. I want a car. I want to go to college. I want to go to U of A with Lexi. He can't because he has third grade math is his mentality right now. But if you asked him anything about vocabulary or animals, this kid could tell you more than probably people that work as anthropologists. I mean, he's just that good. So I feel like it's a silent epidemic. People don't like to talk about mental health, as we know, and they don't want to spend money on it because a lot of families don't really want to acknowledge it. So I want to change that. I'm going to change that. And so today I want to introduce to you what I call a unified responder community. A unified responder community is a community that comes together. We serve autism and at risk of mental health issues. We serve community leaders to educate them on how to respond to a community that doesn't have a voice. We educate responders, police officers. The Buckeye incident that occurred a few years back, it's going to cost them $5 million. That's what the family wants, $5 million. I said, if I had $5 million, we would be doing this all over the world, and I wouldn't be waiting. But we don't have that right now. So we're working towards it. I promise you one day. And educators, the people that have the one-on-one connections with our kids. A lot of families have told me, it's not my responsibility. I pay taxes. It's the responsibility of the educators and the police officers to respond correctly. That's their belief. We're going to change that. As a unified community, we will change that. And this is my hope. This is, I'm missing Waddell and I'm missing Youngstown. I didn't see that they had a logo. But my goal is to go after all of these communities right here. We want to bridge the gaps. What is a unified responder community? It's a core 4 step-by-step program with a 5-week strategic implementation process. We unify all communities, which includes ongoing development and support throughout each year. My goal is to start this January 2021. We have 4 programs that I've been practicing for the last 10 years. It starts with early intervention. Did you know that 90% of a child's brain is developed before 5 years old? How important is it for us to find those families that have at-risk kids or autistic kids? Families of the Spectrum Unite. We go in and we work with organizations like First Things First. We go out and we find these families. We don't wait for them to come to us. When I do presentations, every presentation that I've done in the community, one family member, one officer walks up to me at the end and says, I think my child has autism. What do I do? Community, Life on the Spectrum. I have an awesome leader with Life on the Spectrum. Her name's Bernadette Smith. She does outreach for community and corporate. And she has taken mental health, early intervention, and behavioral health leaders within your community. Things like, are people like DDD, DES, Aurora Behavioral Health, families and child and family services. The leaders from those communities have joined us and they become our ambassadors. They take the curriculum that we provide and they go and they do virtual and mobile presentations to educate and support using the acronym SPECTRUM. SPECT is 5 steps, 5 simple steps to become RUM. Responders United to Make a Difference. I executed that in 2012, and today it's actually being ran by Mental Health. Responders Unite, our police training. The mom of the boy in Buckeye called me the day that it happened, and she asked me to develop curriculum. She said, we need help. We need to create a program that educates everybody, not just police officers. It's not just their responsibility, it's everybody's responsibility to know how to respond to their community. So I created it, and I didn't even watch the video before I did it. I said, I want it to be unbiased. I want to create the program and then watch the video and say, does my program tackle all the different issues that occurred within that video? And if you see that video, the officer was doing his job, walking to the person that was supposedly on drugs because the call came into 911. He was on drugs, acting weird in the park. And when he approached him, the boy didn't know how to respond. All he did was say, I'm stimming. It's a word. But if you're a drug enforcement agent, you might think stimming is the next drug that just came out on the street. How do you know? So when officer tried to touch the boy, he wanted to run. He went into fight or flight mode. Don't touch me. They don't like to be touched. So then it went into the altercation and the boy was injured and the officer was, scrutinized. And the mom said, please help us. And she said, Cricket, all I want is 3 things. I want the officer to be trained with mental health and with autism. Get him in front of these people. I want an apology, and I want to make sure that everybody knows how to respond to this type of a thing. And I believe that the community really wanted to do that, but they didn't know how because it would mean that they said, I was wrong. It's going to be a bad ending. They're going to end up paying the money. I don't want this to be about money. Life skills, the last program, and this is the one when COVID happened, day one, I sat down and I said, what does it take to raise a child with autism from prenatal till the end of life? And I created a PowerPoint, and when I got done with it, it took me a month to do it. It ended up being 300 slides from start to finish. Every legal thing we needed to do, every resource we needed for these families on all different levels. And once I got done, I said, I don't even like the way it looks. I want it to be more black and white because that's the life of an autistic child. So I spent another month redesigning it, adding more stuff. And as I'm going with Landon, I'm going, well, that was wrong, and I'm changing it. And it became a digital tool. So when families call and say, my child was diagnosed with autism, what do? I can now send them a step-by-step guide. Because you know what happens when you say that? A grandparent called me the other day. He said, my wife is on dialysis and I have to take care of her. My 13-year-old granddaughter was given to me because mom and dad were on drugs, didn't want her. So I'm raising her. And I can't do it anymore, but I need help. So I called the local agencies that were surrounding me and I asked for help. And you know what they did? They sent me a 900-page resource list. He goes, I threw it in the garbage. And I said, you know how many times I hear that story? He said, Cricket, I just want answers. And I said, I'm so sorry that happened to you. This is what we're going to do. We're going to take it one step at a time. When you're ready for the next step, you let me know. And if you have problems with the first one I give you, you let me know that too, and I will help you. I have so many people around me that can help. You know why? Because we've already started unifying communities. We've just done it in a very scattered way. I have puzzle pieces all over the West Valley. I have it all over the world, to be honest with you. I have thousands of followers. So with these community programs, week one, we would go into a community. We would find that community support ambassador that you have within your community. And if you don't have one, we have lots of communities that will help you out. And we would find that person and we would make them the liaison between our organization and your community. We would be focusing on at-risk, especially autism. And why we say especially autism is the developmental delay. They're very vulnerable to predatory situations. They drowned because they don't know how to swim and they run to water. So we just want to make sure that we really cover that community, but we want all at risk. We invite all of these people to come to a community forum or we televise it just like this. Very simple. We've learned with COVID that we can do everything virtually now. We're all good at Zoom. We all knew nothing about Zoom before. And with that, we would introduce all of these programs to all these different communities each week. So every week it's a different focus. But we're here to support you. We've been doing this for years now. I have a great team that can help support this. And we do it with our Life on a Spectrum. We'll find your mental health person to come in and bridge the gap between community and at-risk communities, including families of autism. And then we would work with the Responders Unite program, which is our police crisis intervention training. Sergeant Greg Welsh, who joined me today, is already going to work with me on this program. He's taking phase 2. Goodyear Police Department did phase 1. They did all of our videos for us. The surprise is going to help us launch this. Remember when the firefighters came into your schools way back in the day and they gave you the red hat and said, what does everybody do if there's a fire? You stop, drop, and roll, and you get out of the house and you call 911. Why have we never had police officers do that same thing? So we're changing that. That's going to be a behavior that changes. And we're going to go in and we're going to do it with education. How are we going to do it? Well, first, we're going to teach the community, the families, the early intervention and mental health, all these people that are going to support these officers to do the right thing and train and teach and educate so that everybody's on the same page. And as soon as we do that, we're going to explain to the families the importance of this. But if they don't want to do it, our teachers will pick up the pieces. Why? Because either these kids are going to end up in jail, they're going to end up dying, or they're going to end up on your streets. And I said this in 2008. I said, we are going to have a homeless issue. And it's going to be probably over 50% mental health, many of them undiagnosed autism. And where are we at today? I just had a meeting with Phoenix. They're looking for answers. What do we do? How do we fix this? Every community, it's starting to come out now. You're starting to see it in the West Valley. Lots of homeless. Why? Because we have a problem. Step 3B will be that we'll have our officers sworn and and trained, and we'll do that through their own program. And we give them the curriculum to go into the classrooms and teach, basically show and tell. What am I wearing? Why do I have a vest? Why do I have a camera? Why do I carry a gun? What you do, what you don't do. And this is what it'll look like at the end. You will have a child standing with his hands in the air, and he will say 3 times, I am a responder of autism. Why? Because the parents don't want to label these kids. The community needs to know, and if we give the officers the answer to the problem, I have autism, I have a delay in processing, and you watch the videos that we created with Goodyear Police Department and the processing delay that does occur with this community, you will realize the importance of this. All of the officers that day, it was 5 of them, doing the training, we unscripted it. We just said, this is what we want you to do. Every one of them, 20+ year officers said, this changed my life. Week 4, life skills. We're going in and we're educating from prenatal till the end of life how to raise a child with autism and how to prepare for job and independent living. 88,000 adults in the state of Arizona are on long-term housing lists. We have a problem. 88,000. We're never going to fix that if we continue doing what we're doing. We need to start holding people accountable. If they're responsible to fix that, make them fix that. 90% of kids with autism don't get jobs in Arizona. We need to fix that. My son wants a job, and he wants to live with a wife in a home. I'm going to make that happen, and that's why I'm here today. This is a roadmap that I created, and I created it because a lot of kids with autism learn through visualization. The fortune cookie is prenatal, all the way to the puberty monster, which is the gumdrop puberty monster, letting the officers know that when kids go through puberty, like our son Landon, he was doing rituals in the bathroom at 15, the day after he finished school, and he couldn't eat a donut for 24 hours. He ended up at Phoenix Children's Hospital. It took me 35 phone calls to get help, but because my husband has police officer insurance instead of long-term care insurance, they wouldn't help. They couldn't help. A New Leaf finally was able to help me, but it was a 1.5-month waiting list for him to be able to get medication. My son was going to be harm to himself or others. This is when officers will see these kids. And you don't touch my son, he can't. So we share this because it's very important. And we go all the way to the responders up on the mountain, looking down at, we have a problem and we're going to help fix that, to mom and dad saying, we love you. And now this child goes and lives in his own gingerbread house. I gave this vision to students at Huntington University who do graphic design. They were sophomore students. Huntington said, we want to help. I said, I need you to make me something like this so that I can give it to officers so that when they're responding, or community leaders, mental health, that they can use this as a resource tool to help support families so they don't just walk away from that situation without solutions. Do you know how many times officers have called me while they're on the job saying, we need help? That shouldn't happen. They should be able to go to community leaders within their community that they know can help support them. But the reasons they don't know is because nobody's talking to each other. We're all just doing our jobs. And you know what? That's great for the typical society. But for somebody like my son who can't go outside in our own neighborhood because somebody might think he's on drugs, that's not okay. And it's not, I think, why we're here. The resources on the other side is just the solutions. We have 7 different categories. And what I did is when I created the step-by-step 300-page PowerPoint, it was to bring awareness to all of these resources that were critical for them to survive. And we're there to help. And what I'm doing is I'm taking all this information, just like in the restaurant industry, and I'm delegating back to the leaders in your community and saying, I'm going to be here, I'm going to support you, and I'm going to have awesome people like Sergeant Welsh and all of this department to help me build the curriculum necessary to make this successful so that we bridge all of the gaps, not just one. Everybody's accountable, not just one. These are the tools that I created already. This is done. Phase 1 is done. We're ready to roll. Phase 2, I'm working on it. And what I'm creating is a tier 6. And it goes everything from tier 1, kindergarten to 2nd grade. Grad Solutions came on board with me. They're an at-risk online high school curriculum. They're funding this. They're funding me to build this. And they're giving me the opportunity to build life skills. But these life skills aren't going to be how to brush your teeth and how to brush your hair. This is going to be how to set the table so that by the time we get to tier 6, you can work in a 5-star restaurant. Why? Because these kids have the ability to do that, but nobody gives them that chance. So this is going to happen in schools, life programs, life skills programs for summer camps online, after school programs, whatever it's going to take. We will have this done. We already have Pendergast School District on board, Litchfield School District on board, and Grad Solutions is going to actually test this so that it can be identified as curriculum that will be supported by the Department of Education. In week 5, we're here to mentor you, coach you, and build that team we call our EAC team. And then I have liaisons that will work with your teams, and every month we'll come back and we'll report to you what we're doing and how we've accomplished those things. And if we're struggling, we're gonna come to people like you that understand what my vision is, and we're gonna say, obviously we don't know, but we know that there's somebody sitting in this room that has experienced it and came up with a solution. You said, where's that money going? I want to know, right? You're holding somebody accountable. I want to know that we're investing that back into our community because it's there for a reason. That's what I'm doing. I'm asking for that same thing. This is a sneak peek. Do you have any eyesores in your community, those places where you go by and I go, I wish that would be made into something, right? What if we created something called the Arts Project? Art to me is fun. If everybody had the same painting in their house, it would be a boring life. I want to be creative. I believe that with my restaurant industry business, I could create autism conference centers, a training facility, somewhere where we teach independent life skills. But when we do this, we have an independent practice dorm where we take kids like-minded that have at-risk issues. We put them in the same dorm and we say, your life skills, your job skills, your food preparation, and you're going to be transportation navigation. And the 4 of you together are a survival team. And you live and you work together. And we're going to do this for 1, 2, 20 years, whatever it takes. And once you graduate, we go to the next stage. And that next stage looks just like this, an independent dorm. And I'm right now taking my real estate classes, and I'm learning that if you build up, it's a lot cheaper than building out. So why not do dorm houses? And put them in a community center. Do you know those kids? They hate socialization. They don't want to be around people. Landon goes, oh, how long do I have to be here? But if we force them to do it, they're going to be better at it. And that'll give them the job and the life skills necessary. I can't die today knowing that my son doesn't have a plan, that our community is not ready to help me raise this child. It's unfortunate. We need to teach them how to swim. Most of these kids, they're escape artists. Landon learned how to open the door. I put the chain so high. Do you know he took a bar stool? He jumped up top of it and he unlocked it. 2 years old. I had a dog that didn't bark. She was 13 years old. She's barking her head off. I'm in the shower. I run downstairs. Landon's escaping out. You know where he wants to go? The community pool. Do you know what ends up happening? He drowns. Our community doesn't know that. Our officers don't know that. We need to train those things. Sex trafficking is a huge issue. Many of these kids are very vulnerable to predatory situations. I gave Landon money one night. My husband and I allow him to have time independently. We went to work out. We said, we ordered a pizza. When the pizza man comes, all you have to do is give him this. When I came home the next day, a lady who lives right across the way, she said, Cricket, I know you and your husband believe that Landon's doing a really good job independent. But the other night when you were not here, he told me you were working out. I saw him on the corner and he was waving a $20 bill at every car driving by. And I said, yeah, he was waiting for pizza. And I said, the pizza man never came. They had the wrong address. And she goes, well, I was really concerned. And I'm a respite provider. I train kids and I work with kids on the spectrum. She's like, so I said, I don't think your mom would be okay if you're out here. So I asked him to go inside. And I said, thank you so much. That's a community. That to me is a unified community. I want to thank all of you for being community leaders and for your hands-on support. Autism, it takes a community to raise a child with autism. This epidemic is silent and it needs our voice. at risk needs our voice. Mental health needs our voice. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Commissioners, any?
Thank you. Your passion just exudes. How can someone get in touch with your organization?
I'm revamping my website, and it's not a bad thing. The person that designed it originally had autism, but it doesn't draw people, and I think it's important. So it will be done by the end of this month, but for now, we ask them to email us at info, at sounds, SOUNDS, just like sounds of music, soundsofautism.org.
Thank you. And that's how people can get in touch and get information on your life skills, 300 and some odd PowerPoint slides.
I broke it up just so you know into categories, but yes, if they want all 300, I'll send it to them.
Okay. What would you say is the number one need for your organization?
A community that's going to allow me to show what we're capable of. I have police departments. I have mental health and early intervention, educational. I want one community. Let's start with one community. My motto is 1 acre at a time. Landon loves farms, so everything. I come from a farm family. It's a hardworking job. 1 acre at a time, one step at a time. I feel that if we can build all the pieces in one community and duplicate that, the organizations that you mentioned, like SARC, I'm very familiar with Denise Resnick. She's done some amazing things. She as well has waiting lists because they're so popular. But we have to do more. It has to be more. Our statistics are 88,000 adults on a waiting list, right? We have mental health issues with homeless that are just growing. The numbers are growing to the point where community leaders are begging for answers. And we have 90% of these kids not capable of getting jobs, one, because of the way the system's set up. I want to sit with these municipalities. I want to sit with these community leaders and say, listen, I ran restaurants when it was the hardest time, when people were walking away from their houses in 2008 and 2009. You can make profit if you figure out innovative ways to do it. We can do that. I want to work with people. I want to help them. I have a lot of ideas, and I think that we can add value to your community. We can add revenue to your community, and we can find ways to reallocate monies to make this sustainable.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Commissioner Kim Partridge.
I just want to thank you for your presentation and also thank the police department for helping with this. I had a situation a couple years ago that I was called in on as a student with autism, and when we called the police for crisis intervention, they arrested the person who had autism. And when I asked why that was happening, they had mentioned that, what else did you want when you called us? Yeah. So I like this idea. I think it's great for our community because I do think we need more training for officers. And I think it will the goal is not to put these individuals in jail, to reduce that pipeline and to help get more services, maybe a crisis team, just bridge that gap. So I appreciate this.
I appreciate it. Thank you. And just so you know, the people love us because I'm not here to steal anybody's business away from them. We're here to support organizations that we call vetted resources that are there to help support these families. We're a marketing campaign for people. That's really what we are. We build education, curriculum, but we also go out and find those resources within your communities, and we help bridge those gaps so that the officers can call and they have those relationships that they've built and they trust. There was a boy recently, 18 years old, that mom and dad kicked out of their home because he's now 18 and they don't have that responsibility anymore. He was taken in by the homeless community and he's now having some drug issues. When those types of things happen, I see it all the time and I hear it all the time. This is going to happen more than you know. I have a lot of kids popping tents on school grounds because that's where they feel safe. Mom and dad kicked them out. Mom and dad don't know. They're lost. They're sad. They're alone. It's depressing. But you can get busy living or you can get busy dying, and we've decided that we're going to help support those families. That boy lives in your community. That's just one of thousands. We're going to help those people. And I think we helped them within 3 hours. We had 24. We helped him in 3 hours, and we executed the help that he needed with the people that we needed, because we surround ourselves with very powerful people that can get us past those hurdles. That's what we're doing. And not one person on my team at this time takes a salary, not one. We've done this for 10 years because it's the right thing to do.
Anyone else? No? Okay.
I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thank you
Yes,
so much.
My
That
pleasure.
was very good. Thank you. All right. The next item on the agenda is a discussion on possible action pertaining to the dates for the next Care and Share Expo. I want to go ahead and get the discussion going on this one. As we were talking, we had a working group meeting yesterday. And I think we got a lot accomplished on it. We had a lot of good discussion on how to move forward with this. What we're looking at doing is moving the Care and Share Expo to November 13th of 2021. With the current state of how things are with COVID, it's hard to get anything together. So at that, we wanted to move the in-person physical Care and Share Expo to November 13th, 2021. What we're looking at being able to do is a campaign mode of ways of getting out information to be able to help the communities, again, because we touch everyone's lives in the city. Sometimes they don't need it at that moment, but we're there when they do. And I want to make sure that they know what we have out there. And I think that's a strong consensus. So what we're looking at doing is where we would do a campaign where we start off with a big blast of sorts that highlights the resources that are available here in the city. And then from there, we will then look at highlighting different organizations, doing little, be it either the St. Mary's Food Bank or, different nonprofits that we have here in the city, the domestic violence that might be there, employment, things of that nature that really could get assistance. Our resource center has a lot of information, and that's why we want to start big with our resource center and then highlight our different partners that we have and do it virtually. Now we're looking at doing campaigns through social media as one of them. We were talking, because Facebook, you can push those ads, and Instagram, you can do ads and stuff to be able to get things across. We're looking at newspapers and the community rec mag possibly, but that wouldn't be until the springtime if we were able to get into that. We are looking at, so if we were to do a newspaper ad, because that was one of the options that we were talking about, just so you know, the prices range anywhere from, for a quarter page, from $366 to a full page of $996. And as we talk about this, yes, we know this is costing, to be able to do a virtual, to try and get the word out, to make sure everyone gets it. We want to flood them, the different venues that we have. It's going to cost us, and here with our commission, we have a budget to be able to do this with, as long as we all can agree to be able to do it. Then, because we're looking at doing it in November, to start this off in November, if we can get the city surprise marketing group together to help us put this together. So just to be able to highlight, because if we do it in November, it's before the holiday hits and everything goes crazy for everyone. But again, you also have to remember in the holiday time, there's also, one of the big things that our needs assessment is showing is that mental health is one of the top areas. That could be one of those individual things that we highlight, because again, we have resources to be able to help in that area, and being able to promote that in November would help when they hit in a time that is going to be even higher than it is currently. So those are the different areas that we're looking at. One of the things that we also talked about is being able to, when we have everything put together, that we ourselves push it out to the people that we know, and then they'll end up pushing it out to the people they know, and it would just flood in all areas of social media to be able to do it. It right now looks like it'd be more doable for print instead of a video. We're not sure on that yet. We're waiting to do that. We wanted to talk with everyone here, have a discussion on it, and see what your guys' thoughts and intake was on that. So with that, Vice Chair Witzel, did I forget anything that you can think of?
No, I think you covered kind of the everything that we talked about and the ideas. So pushing off the in-person Care and Share Expo until next November, it's because we don't know what the rest of this year is going to look like, and we don't really have the time to properly plan anything. Even if we knew everything was going to open up in December, that's still too short of a time period. And then starting our virtual campaign of sharing information and organizations and paths to get assistance for different issues that people are having in the community. And I think you hit pretty much everything we talked about.
Thank you. Commissioner Nagel, as you're also on the working group, did I cover?
Yes, ma'am, you did.
All right. Commissioners, do you have any thoughts, ideas, discussions? We're opening it up for the discussion right now on any of it. Anything?
Was there a specific reason for the 13th of November? I assume that's a tentative date.
It is.
In that we're looking at 2 days after Veterans Day, and that's possibly going to be a long weekend for a lot of people. Plus, that's 2 weeks before Thanksgiving. So it's I don't know. I know we're a long way away from that date, but those are just a couple of my areas of concern with that date. As far as the, I'm going to use the term media campaign because that sounds a little bit more like what we're talking about. I am 100% on board with that, and I'm sure the city, as well as some of the other organizations that we have reached out to that are also a part of the resource guide, would be more than happy to work with us on getting the information out.
All right, thank you. And to answer your question, and I totally forgot about that. So the reason why we picked November 13th is because of Veterans Day. Because usually the city has the parade, and we weren't sure if they were going to have the parade on that Saturday or on the Thursday, right? Director Dyke.
It'll be on Thursday.
It'll be on Thursday.
It will be on Thursday.
Yep, so the Parks and Rec director confirmed that they typically have it on the actual Veterans Day, so I think that's the Thursday. And so that was what we discussed yesterday. Do we do it on that day or that Saturday?
All right, thank you for that. Yeah, so we were looking, because then after they're done with the Veterans Day parade, being able to come and see the different services, because you got to remember when we do the expo, we have a lot of services out there for veterans as well as individuals with disabilities with human services aspect. I mean, we hit the whole realm of it, and what a great opportunity why everyone is already in that area to be able to serve them. And then another thing that we were also discussing,
I was going to interject so there's no confusion. We had talked about 2 dates, either November 11th, which is Veterans Day, or November 13th, kind of based on what the parade, what day the parade was. So that way we can kind of piggyback off of that crowd that's already going to be assembled on Bullard and kind of draw them over.
Draw them over to where we'll be. It's kind of one of those setups that we're looking at, but we're also looking at, we've been talking with Charles Collins and maybe doing a add-on of an event that they could do as well at the same, as we're doing our expo too. So just think of the magnitude of everyone that we would be able to touch, the things that we are able to do. Because if Charles Collins and his group were able to put together an event for, I think they're looking at maybe Dreams Catchers to do a baseball game, having that going on, and we have our expo with all that information going on, and our parade, we're able to make sure everyone has the resources that they need, especially when they're walking into that time of the holidays and how life can get chaotic.
So it sounds like you're looking at, we're most likely going to have a captive audience. Let's take advantage of it. Okay.
Yes, because last year, if you remember, right, when we got our results back from our survey, the one concern was they all loved the expo. They thought it was great. But getting the word out to everyone was hard. So by being able to do this and have that captive audience, we should be able to get that word out to everyone. And so then, and give them all access to our wonderful surprise resource guide. On it. Okay. So with that, since we do, moving forward, then if we'll go ahead and, can I do a vote to move it?
So the agenda says discussion and possible action. If you choose to take action on a date, the date is locked in, but you're not required to take action at this time. You can send staff away with direction as to next steps.
Okay. So then what we'll...
Chair, I would suggest having staff talk to the Parks and Recs regarding seeing if we can piggyback on the Veterans Day Parade. And that way, already have their blessing beforehand.
That's where I would like to head to, is to go ahead and send the staff out to go ahead and check to see if we could go ahead and piggyback during that time, and if we can accomplish what we would like to be able to accomplish to get that captive audience, to get the help to those individuals. And I know the working group will be meeting again here shortly with the city marketing to try and get that campaign up and running as well. So that way we still have our Surprise Care and Share Expo, but it's going to be a virtual campaign. Okay. All right. With that, anyone else have any comments for that? All right. Seth, so you'll reach out to the city and make sure we get everything set for that?
Yes, ma'am, Madam Chair. We'll connect. Again, everything's tentative until we can get everything cleared, but we've got great direction today, so that'll help us out.
All right. Thank you so much. All right. And okay. So at this time, if there's any other business that might have need or future agenda items that you might like to see, this is your time. So does anyone have any future agenda items they would like?
Just remember what Julie mentioned in the beginning of the meeting, what she would like.
Yes, we have that. All right. Anyone else? No. Okay. All right. So with that, I will go ahead and take a motion to adjourn the meeting.
I make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. Over.
So, by now, I'm sure you've seen that face coverings are not only required in the city of Surprise, but all of Maricopa County when you are in a public setting and unable to maintain 6 feet of distance from those who don't live in the same residence.